What if everything you believe about success, happiness, and freedom is a lie? What if the very truths you've been avoiding are the chains holding you back? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear may change everything. Part 1: Awakening and Taking Responsibility. Action over emotion. Have you ever stopped to realize that your entire life could be nothing more than a waiting room? A place where you sit year after year telling yourself that one day things will change, one day the breakthrough will arrive, one day the right person, the right opportunity, the right stroke of luck will appear to pull you out of your struggles. What if I told you that this one day never comes? What if the harsh truth is that no savior is on the way, no miracle is scheduled, and no permission slip will land on your desk? That realization shocks many people because it strips away the comfortable illusions we have carried since childhood. But it is exactly in that shock where freedom hides. Welcome to Limitless Mindset. If you are ready to break free from the stories that keep you small, listen carefully, because the moment you truly absorb what I'm about to tell you, your entire life can change. From the time we were children, we were conditioned to wait. Wait for the teacher to tell us what to do. Wait for our parents to solve the problem. Wait for someone else to take responsibility. We were rewarded not for initiative, but for obedience. And so, without noticing, we carried that invisible program into adulthood. We wait for the economy to improve before we chase our dreams. We wait to feel ready before we take the first step. We wait for the stars to align before we give ourselves permission to live differently. And while we wait, time bleeds away, day after day, year after year, until one morning we wake up and realize that waiting has become a lifestyle, and life itself has slipped through our fingers. It is painful to admit, but it is also liberating, because the instant you see it clearly, you reclaim your power. You understand that no one is coming to rescue you, and because of that, you no longer have to wait. Life is not a movie. There is no script where a hero bursts through the door to drag you out of the fire. The universe does not send a perfect solution wrapped in a bow to land on your doorstep. What life does respond to, always and without fail, is movement. The world responds to effort, not fantasy. It bends in the direction of clarity and consistency, not vague desire. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus understood this thousands of years ago. He taught that freedom begins by recognizing what is in your control and what is not. You cannot control whether a rescuer appears, but you can control whether you act, whether you discipline your mind, whether you step forward. That is where your true power lives. And yet, most people remain trapped in the opposite mindset. They tell themselves, when I have more money, then I'll start that project. When I meet the right person, then I'll feel worthy. When life gets easier, then I'll focus on my health. But all of that is illusion. All of that is avoidance. Because the truth is, you do not need ideal conditions to begin. You do not need a rescuer. The very act of waiting is the reason you are stuck. The sting of this truth is sharp at first. The idea that no one is coming can feel cold, even lonely. But on the other side of that sting is liberation. If no one is coming, then you are free to stop waiting. You are free to stop seeking approval. You are free to claim ownership of your own life. The stage is yours. The story is yours. And every single day you delay is another day spent passively watching from the sidelines of your own existence. Look at the people who actually rise, the ones who build lives that inspire us. They are not the ones who waited for certainty. They are not the ones who depended on someone else to take the first step. They are the ones who moved despite fear, who acted even in uncertainty, who carried responsibility even when it felt unfair. They were not rescued. They rescued themselves, brick by brick, action by action, and that is why their lives changed. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, wrote words that echo across centuries. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These were not poetic phrases meant to inspire from a distance. They were instructions. They were keys to survival, forged in the chaos of ruling an empire. Your mind, your perspective, your decisions, those are your tools. And yet, most people hand those tools away. They bury them under excuses. They silence themselves with endless waiting. Imagine if Marcus Aurelius had told himself, when the world becomes calmer, then I'll act. Imagine if Epictetus had believed, When my circumstances are ideal, then I'll live with freedom. History would have forgotten their names. What made them timeless was their refusal to wait. They understood that the only life worth living is one claimed in the present moment. So let me ask you directly, where in your life are you still waiting? What dream sits untouched on the shelf because you are hoping the conditions will one day be perfect? What change have you postponed because you are quietly hoping someone will give you permission? What part of yourself have you abandoned because you believed a rescuer would appear? Name it, see it clearly, and then understand this. The waiting itself is the cage. The illusion that someone else must act first is the lock. The moment you stop waiting, the door swings open. Freedom is not delivered to you, it is claimed by you. This is where Stoic resilience becomes practical. It is not about suppressing emotions or pretending you feel nothing. It is about refusing to let passivity rule your life. When you act, even in small ways, you begin to build momentum. You begin to feel a power you thought belonged to others. You stop surviving and start leading. You stop drifting and start building. You rise not because someone lifted you, but because you chose to stand. And slowly you become the very person you once believed you were waiting for. That is where your power has been hiding all along, waiting for you to claim it. The journey begins with one decision: no more waiting. Decide today that you will no longer delay the life that belongs to you. Decide that you will step forward even if the ground feels unsteady. Decide that you will trust action more than excuses. Because the truth is simple: when you move, life moves with you. When you act, the universe bends in response. When you stop waiting, everything changes. And the longer you resist this truth, the longer you remain stuck in the same cycles that have held you captive. If you are still hoping for a savior, understand this: the savior is you. It always has been. It always will be. And now, before we continue, I want to pause for just a moment. If these words are stirring something in you, if you feel the weight of this truth pressing on your mind, then do one small thing right now that aligns with action, not waiting. Subscribe to this channel, Limitless Mindset, and help us continue to create content that pushes you to grow, to challenge illusions, to face truths that others avoid. Your support fuels us, and your decision to act, even in something as small as pressing that button, sets a tone for the rest of your journey. So here we are at the threshold. You have heard the first truth. You know no one is coming. The question now is not whether you understand it. The question is whether you will live it. Will you wait another year, another decade for someone else to hand you permission? Or will you decide that your life, your future, your freedom are too important to delay? The choice is yours, and it has always been yours. The moment you choose to act, the waiting ends, and your life begins. Now, I leave you with this question, and I want you to think deeply about it before you answer in the comments. In what area of your life have you been waiting for someone else to save you? And what would it look like if you stopped waiting and chose to act today? Part 2: the economics of time and attention. Time is the one currency you cannot earn back, yet it is the one most freely wasted. People obsess over money, possessions, and status, building their lives around the illusion that these are the treasures worth guarding. They lock their savings accounts, insure their homes, protect their reputation. But time is treated like it has no value. Hours disappear into meaningless scrolling. Days evaporate in gossip, in distraction, in tasks that drain instead of enrich. Years slip through routines that numb rather than awaken. And one day, a man wakes up and realizes the most valuable asset he ever had has already been spent, irreversibly, and he never once paused to calculate the cost. Seneca saw this clearly 2,000 years ago. He wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." The tragedy is not the brevity of life, but our blindness to what we are doing with the life we have. You may think you understand that time is precious. People repeat it all the time. Life is short. Seize the day, make every moment count. But if I followed you for a week, would your actions prove that you truly believe it? Would your schedule reflect urgency, clarity, intention? Or would I see hours lost to trivial tasks, to distractions designed by others, to endless noise that does nothing to shape the life you claim to want? We say time is priceless, but our choices reveal that we value it less than the cheapest of commodities. If someone handed you $10,000 in cash, you would think carefully about how to spend it. You would guard it, plan it, invest it. Yet every morning, you are given 86,400 seconds, and most of those are spent without thought, as though they were infinite. The greatest illusion of all is that you have time. You don't. You only have now, and the now you squander today is the life you regret tomorrow. This is why the Stoics obsessed over time. They knew that how you spend your hours is how you spend yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that death is not in the distance, it is always near. He did not do this to fall into despair, but to sharpen his clarity, to strip away trivial concerns, to live deliberately. Memento mori, remember that you must die, was not a morbid chant, it was a compass. It forced the mind to ask, if today were my last, how would I spend it? What deserves my energy, my attention, my presence? And when you ask this question honestly, distractions dissolve. Suddenly, that argument on social media is not worth an hour of your life. That meeting without purpose is not worth your presence. That endless comparison to people you don't even know loses its grip. Urgency awakens not from fear, but from respect for the limited gift of time. But there is something even deeper. Not just the quantity of time, but the quality of attention you bring into it. Attention is the filter through which you experience life. It is like sunlight. Whatever you shine it on grows. If you shine it on fear, fear multiplies. If you shine it on gratitude, peace expands. If you scatter it across 1,000 trivialities, your life fragments and you feel exhausted. Not because you've done too much, but because you've done too little of what truly matters. What many call fatigue is often not physical, but attentional. The mind was never designed to be pulled in 100 directions every hour. Yet this is what modern life demands. Notifications, advertisements, endless feeds engineered to hijack your focus. Every click, every scroll, every interruption is a thief. And the tragedy is, we not only let them in, we invite them. Consider this, your attention is your identity. Whatever you focus on consistently becomes who you are. A person who feeds on outrage every day becomes bitter. A person who consumes comparison every day becomes insecure. A person who dwells on problems becomes anxious. And the opposite is equally true. Focus on discipline, and discipline grows inside you. Focus on gratitude, and you become generous. Focus on growth, and your life expands in strength. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Your attention paints your character. It sculpts your future. And yet most people treat their attention like loose change, tossed to the nearest distraction, surrendered to the loudest noise. No wonder so many feel scattered, restless, drained. They have allowed their most precious resource to be squandered on the trivial. But here is the liberating truth. You can reclaim it. You can train your focus as deliberately as you train your body. You can choose where your attention goes. You can guard it with the same vigilance you give your money, your possessions, your reputation. You can design an environment that nourishes clarity instead of chaos. You can build habits that channel your energy into creation instead of consumption. And when you do, life itself begins to change. Because when your focus sharpens, your actions align. When your actions align, your results transform. And when your results transform, your identity reshapes. The chain begins not with luck, not with circumstances, but with attention. Think of your attention as a garden. Whatever seeds you plant will grow. If you fill it with weeds, gossip, negativity, distraction, your life becomes overrun with chaos. If you plant seeds of wisdom, discipline, courage, gratitude, your life flourishes in strength. The harvest is inevitable. The only question is, what are you planting daily? Every book you read, every conversation you entertain, every piece of content you consume is a seed. There is no neutral input. Each one either strengthens or weakens you. Each one either moves you closer to who you want to become or pulls you further away. If you want to change your life, begin with your mental diet. Ask yourself, am I feeding my mind with wisdom or with noise, with courage or with fear, with vision or with distraction? The answers will reveal your future with startling accuracy. Some may argue, but isn't it important to relax, to unwind, to enjoy entertainment? Of course. Life is not about constant severity. Pleasure has its place. The Stoics did not deny joy, they simply refused to let indulgence become enslavement. The problem is not that people rest, the problem is that people escape. They confuse numbing with renewal. Hours disappear in front of a screen, and yet they feel more tired, more restless, more anxious. Why? Because they did not restore attention. They scattered it further. True rest is not consumption, it is alignment. It is silence, stillness, presence. It is choosing inputs that restore clarity rather than erode it. That is why a simple walk in nature calms the mind more than hours of binge watching. That is why journaling for 10 minutes clears more confusion than scrolling for 10 hours. Attention thrives where intention lives. So, how do you reclaim it? The first step is awareness. Most people don't even realize where their time and focus are going. Track it, audit it. Spend 1 week writing down how you spend your hours and what captures your attention. The results will shock you. You will see how little of your day is spent deliberately, how much is surrendered to trivialities, and in that awareness lies the power to change. The second step is elimination. Ruthlessly cut away the unnecessary. Seneca warned against being everywhere and nowhere. Stop scattering yourself across tasks, screens, and conversations that add no value. Protect your attention like a fortress. Guard the gates. The third step is intention. Begin each day by asking, what is truly worth my focus today? Not what is urgent, not what others demand, but what aligns with my deepest values. Choose 1 or 2 priorities and give them your full presence. Let everything else shrink to the background. Finally, practice presence. When you eat, eat. When you work, work. When you rest, rest. Fragmentation kills energy. Presence restores it. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. And over time, something extraordinary happens. Your exhaustion fades, not because life gets easier, but because your attention stops leaking. Your time feels richer, not because you have more of it, but because you spend it with intention. Your mind sharpens, your actions align, and suddenly what once felt impossible begins to unfold. Not by miracle, not by luck, but by the simple mastery of time and focus. Remember, your time is your life. How you spend it is how you spend yourself. Waste it, and you waste yourself. Guard it, and you honor yourself. Your attention is your identity. Whatever you feed grows. Whatever you starve withers. The world may fight to steal both your time and your focus, but the choice will always belong to you. The question is not whether you have enough time. The question is whether you will respect the time you have. The question is not whether you have focus. The question is whether you will direct it with intention. Because when you reclaim these 2 resources, you reclaim everything. You reclaim clarity. You reclaim peace. You reclaim the life that has always been waiting for you to live it. So ask yourself right now, if today were your last day, would you be proud of how you are spending it? If your attention were the blueprint of your identity, would you want to become what you are focusing on? These questions are not meant to frighten you, but to awaken you. Because the clock is ticking, silently but relentlessly. The seconds you waste are gone forever. But the seconds you guard, the attention you direct, the life you shape deliberately, those become your legacy. And in the end, nothing could be more urgent, nothing could be more sacred than how you choose to spend the only currency you can never earn again. Part 3. Growth through discomfort and boundaries. Human beings are wired to seek comfort. We crave warmth when it's cold, food when we're hungry, ease when we're tired. On the surface, comfort feels like safety, a place where nothing threatens us, where the world feels soft and forgiving. But here's the truth no one wants to hear. Comfort is the slowest poison. It dulls your edges, softens your spirit, and seduces you into trading growth for ease. Every major step forward in human history, every transformation in an individual's life was born not in comfort, but in discomfort. Pain, challenge, and struggle are not enemies to avoid. They are invitations to evolve. The Stoics saw this with unflinching clarity. They did not romanticize suffering, but they understood that the obstacle is not in the way. It is the way. Discomfort is not punishment. It is the raw material from which strength is forged. Think back to any achievement you've truly valued in your life. Did it come wrapped in convenience? Did it arrive without effort, without sweat, without nights of doubt and days of fatigue? Of course not. Whether it was mastering a skill, healing from heartbreak, building a career, or transforming your body, growth demanded that you step into what felt uncomfortable. Muscles only grow when they are torn and rebuilt. Courage is only born when fear is faced. not when it is absent. Wisdom is carved out of mistakes and setbacks, not out of smooth perfection. And yet, modern culture sells us the opposite story. Advertisements promise comfort as the ultimate reward: effortless wealth, instant success, painless transformation. Click here, buy this, take that shortcut. But deep down, you know the truth. The easier path rarely leads anywhere worth going. What you avoid today because it feels uncomfortable will return tomorrow as regret, heavier and harder to bear. Seneca wrote that difficulties strengthen the mind as labor strengthens the body. It is not the struggle itself that shapes you, but the way you choose to meet it. When you avoid discomfort, you do not protect yourself, you diminish yourself. You shrink your capacity until even small challenges feel unbearable. On the other hand, when you lean into discomfort intentionally, you expand. You discover you are capable of more than you imagined. Every difficult conversation you enter, every fear you face, every goal you pursue despite resistance builds resilience. And resilience is not merely survival, it is the foundation of deep peace. When you know you can endure hardship, you no longer fear life. When you know you can hold the weight of discomfort, you move with a quiet confidence that nothing outside of you can shatter. But growth is not only about embracing discomfort, it is also about knowing when to draw the line. Too many people confuse endless endurance with strength, but strength without boundaries is weakness disguised. Just as the body needs resistance to grow, the soul needs boundaries to protect its energy. Boundaries are not walls of arrogance, but acts of clarity. They are the lines that say, "This is who I am, this is what I value, this is how I will live." Without them, your life becomes a negotiation you are destined to lose. You say yes when your heart is screaming no. You tolerate behaviors that erode your peace. You allow your time, your mind, and your energy to be consumed by obligations that add no value. And then you wonder why you feel fragmented, resentful, exhausted. It is not because life is unfair. It is because you have failed to guard what is sacred. The Stoics taught harmony with nature, and part of that harmony is respecting your own nature. Epictetus reminded us to keep our will aligned with what is truly ours. Setting boundaries is the practical expression of that teaching. It is not enough to know your values, you must defend them in the arena of daily life. This is not easy, especially if you have spent years people-pleasing, avoiding conflict, or seeking validation. Boundaries will make others uncomfortable. They will push against them, guilt you, accuse you of being selfish. But here is the paradox: boundaries are the least selfish act you can offer. Um, because when you protect your energy, when you live aligned with your truth, you can give to others from a place of authenticity, not resentment. You can show up fully rather than half present and drained. Peace is not something you stumble upon, it is something you create, and the foundation is always boundaries. Discomfort and boundaries, though they seem like opposites, are in fact companions. Choosing discomfort means you are willing to face the resistance required for growth. Choosing boundaries means you are willing to face the discomfort of saying no, of standing firm, of disappointing others to remain true to yourself. Both demand courage. Both are painful in the short term, but both lead to long-term strength. The man who avoids discomfort may feel safe today, but he becomes fragile tomorrow. The woman who avoids boundaries may feel like today, assert, but she becomes hollow tomorrow. Real freedom belongs to those who endure the sting of discomfort now so they can claim the power that follows later. Sometimes growth also requires something even more difficult: leaving. You cannot heal in the same environment that keeps reopening the wound. You cannot rise while clinging to places, people, or patterns that shrink you. Some friendships expire because they no longer align with your evolution. Some jobs suffocate because they demand your time but starve your spirit. Some environments dull you because they reinforce the very habits you are trying to escape. Yet many people cling out of nostalgia, guilt, or fear. They tell themselves, "I owe it to them. I can't just leave. This is all I've known." But ask yourself, do you owe your future to your past, or do you owe it to the person you are becoming? To outgrow is not betrayal, it is evolution. Marcus Aurelius observed that all things are in flux, that change is the nature of the universe. To resist it is to suffer. To flow with it is to grow. You can honor what a season gave you and still release it when it no longer fits. To cling is to dishonor both yourself and the connection itself. Picture this: a tree planted in a small pot. For a time, it thrives. But as it grows, the pot becomes too small. If it stays, the roots twist, the growth stalls, the leaves wither. If it is transplanted into new soil, it struggles at first. The shock of new ground, new space. But in time, its roots spread, its branches reach higher, its life expands. You are that tree. The pot that once fit may now be a prison. The comfort that once nourished may now suffocate. The relationships, environments, and habits that once served may now limit. If you do not move, you wither. If you dare to uproot, to endure the discomfort of change, you expand. Discomfort again proves itself not as an enemy, but as the door to your next level. Let us go even deeper. Why do most people avoid discomfort, avoid boundaries, avoid change? Because they confuse temporary pain with permanent identity. They believe that the sting of discomfort means they are on the wrong path. They believe that saying no will mean losing love. They believe that leaving what no longer fits is betrayal. But the truth is the opposite. Temporary pain is proof of progress. Boundaries invite authentic love. Leaving creates space for new life. The very things you fear are the very things that free you. Discomfort is temporary, but growth is permanent. The sting fades, but the strength remains. The awkwardness of a boundary passes, but the peace it protects endures. The grief of leaving is real, but it is also the soil in which your future grows. The Stoics did not chase suffering for its own sake, but they trained themselves to welcome it when it came. They knew that character is revealed in adversity, that resilience is built in resistance. Epictetus was a slave before he became a philosopher. His body was broken, but his spirit was unshakable because he learned that freedom is not given. It is claimed inside through discipline and clarity. He did not choose the circumstances, but he chose his response. That is the same choice you have today. You may not choose every discomfort, but you can choose whether to see it as punishment or as path. You may not control who pushes against your boundaries, but you can choose whether to fold or to stand. You may not control when change arrives, but you can choose whether to resist it or evolve with it. These choices define you more than circumstances ever could. So let me ask you, where are you hiding from discomfort right now? What conversation have you postponed because it feels too difficult? What dream have you delayed because the path looks uncertain? What truth have you buried because facing it would be painful? And where in your life are you without boundaries, saying yes when your heart is screaming no? Who is draining your energy because you fear conflict? What environment are you clinging to though it suffocates your spirit? These questions are not easy, but they are necessary. Because until you face them, you remain stuck. Until you choose discomfort over ease, you remain small. Until you set boundaries, you remain scattered. Until you release what no longer fits, you remain chained. Growth is not automatic. It is a decision, renewed daily, to lean into discomfort and defend your values with clarity. There is no shortcut. There is no hack that bypasses pain. The path to strength always cuts through discomfort. The path to peace always passes through boundaries. The path to evolution always requires release. And while this may sound harsh, it is in fact the most hopeful truth you will ever hear. Because it means that freedom, growth, and peace are not distant miracles waiting for someone else to deliver. They are available to you here and now in every moment you choose: discomfort over ease, boundaries over passivity, evolution over stagnation. This is the paradox. The life you want, the strength you seek, the peace you crave, all live on the other side of what you are avoiding. Not in escaping it, not in waiting for it to vanish, but in facing it, one choice at a time. So do not fear discomfort, welcome it. Do not fear boundaries, set them. Do not fear change, embrace it. Because when you do, you stop shrinking and start expanding. You stop betraying yourself and start honoring yourself. You stop clinging to the past and start creating the future. And in that choice lies everything: freedom, strength, peace, growth. Remember this: discomfort is temporary, but the growth it produces is eternal. The life you desire is not hidden behind comfort. It is waiting for you in the fire, in the struggle, in the courage to say no, in the wisdom to let go. Step into it. That is the only way to truly live. Part 4: Identity, Habits, and Relationships. Identity is not found in the dreams you speak of, nor in the intentions you quietly carry. It is built piece by piece in the patterns you live every single day. We are creatures of repetition. What you do once is an event, but what you do repeatedly becomes your character. Your life today, your health, your mindset, your relationships, your level of peace is not a mystery. It is the inevitable harvest of habits planted long ago. And yet, so many of us continue to cling to the illusion that one day we will wake up transformed by desire alone. We believe that wanting to change is enough, but the truth is merciless. You do not become what you wish for, you become what you repeatedly do. This is why small habits matter more than dramatic declarations. One missed workout is nothing. One night of scrolling is trivial. One moment of speaking without intention is minor. But repetition turns the trivial into the defining shape of a life. 100 skipped workouts, 1,000 nights wasted, a lifetime of careless words, that becomes your reality. And the opposite is also true. One act of discipline, repeated daily, transforms your body, your mind, your relationships. One choice to honor your values, enforced consistently, rewires your identity. You may think your habits are small, but they are building your future silently, invisibly, day after day. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, but those thoughts must eventually show up in action. You cannot think your way into a new life. You must act your way into one. This is why so many people feel stuck even after changing their environment, their job, or their relationship. They chase external changes, hoping that a new setting will produce a new self, but they bring the same habits with them. And unsurprisingly, the same life reappears. You can move across the world, but if you carry the same daily routines, you will recreate the same patterns. Until your habits change, your life will not change. The good news is this truth is liberating. It means you do not need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You do not need to wait until you are perfect. You simply need to start aligning your habits one by one with the person you want to become. Change is not an event, it is a rhythm. Each repetition is a vote for your future identity. But identity is not only shaped by habits, it is also revealed in the confidence you build through consistency. Too many people wait for confidence before acting, believing that they must feel bold before they step forward. They imagine that one day fear will vanish and then they will finally be ready. But confidence is not a prerequisite to action. It is the result of action repeated consistently. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you send a message to your mind. I can trust myself. Every time you follow through, especially when it is difficult, you reinforce that trust. Over time, that self-trust compounds into a quiet, unshakable confidence. Not the loud bravado that crumbles under pressure, but the deep assurance that comes from knowing I can handle what comes. On the other hand, every time you betray yourself, every time you shrink back into comfort, every time you delay what you know you must do, you erode that trust. And without self-trust, confidence is impossible. This is why consistency matters more than comfort. This is why you must choose discipline over ease. Because confidence is not a feeling you wait for, it is an identity you earn. Now, here is another truth that many resist. Most people are not watching you as closely as you think. The human mind is trapped in the illusion of constant judgment, the belief that everyone is analyzing, criticizing, and evaluating us. But the reality is far more liberating. Most people are too consumed with their own struggles, their own insecurities, their own chaos to fixate on yours. They are not replaying your awkward words. They are not obsessing over your mistakes. They are not measuring your worth with the precision you imagine. And when you accept this truth, you are free. You are free to speak without overthinking. You are free to act without waiting for universal approval. You are free to pursue your path without the heavy burden of imagined judgment. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the opinions of others are outside his control. Only his mind, his choices, his character were within his power. And in that realization lies strength. When you release the weight of imagined judgment, you move through life lighter, freer, more authentic. But freedom does not mean recklessness. It means courage guided by values. Living without fear of judgment does not mean you stop caring about how you affect others. Because here is another truth. People may not remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. Words are fragile. Emotions linger. Long after your clever arguments are forgotten, the imprint of your presence remains. Did you make others feel respected, seen, valued, or did you leave them diminished, dismissed, overlooked? Many people chase being right, but in the process they forget to be kind. They chase recognition, but in the process they forget to be present. True influence is not built by dominating conversations, but by embodying integrity. Epictetus taught, be tolerant with others, strict with yourself. In practice, this means holding yourself to the highest standards while extending grace to those around you. The impact you leave on others is not measured by your brilliance, but by your character. Identity is also shaped by the standards you enforce. You teach people how to treat you. Every time you allow disrespect without addressing it, you teach that you will accept it. Every time you silence your needs to avoid conflict, you teach that your needs are negotiable. Every time you overextend yourself without boundaries, you teach that your time and energy are freely available. And the reverse is true. Every time you enforce a boundary, you teach respect. Every time you walk away from toxicity, you teach that your peace is non-negotiable. The Stoics urged clarity, not hope. Hoping others will automatically respect you is not a strategy. Defining and enforcing your standards is. This is not about control, it is about integrity. You cannot control how others behave, but you can control what you tolerate. And over time, the standards you hold become the culture of your life. They filter your relationships, they define your interactions, they create the conditions in which authenticity thrives. But here's where wisdom must enter. Not every piece of advice is truth. In a world filled with endless voices, books, podcasts, mentors, strangers online, there is a temptation to outsource your decisions to external authority. But advice always reflects the speaker more than universal truth. People project their own experiences, their own wounds, their own values onto you. One person will tell you to take massive risks because they thrive on risk. Another will tell you to play safe because they once failed. One will glorify discipline, another will glorify flow. Who is right? Perhaps both for themselves, but not necessarily for you. Epictetus said, know first who you are and then adorn yourself accordingly. Without self-knowledge, you will be swayed by every opinion. With it, you filter wisely. You listen openly but selectively. You remain grounded in your values, your season, your path. Advice can guide, but only you can decide. Now let us return to the thread of habits, because here lies the crux of identity. You cannot think your way out of mediocrity. You cannot dream your way into transformation. You can only act consistently in alignment with who you wish to become. Every morning is a chance to vote for your future self. Do you begin with intention or with distraction? Do you honor your commitments or betray them? Do you confront what is uncomfortable or retreat into ease? Each choice is small, but repeated 1,000 times, it builds the architecture of your identity. And here is the paradox. Small habits feel insignificant in the moment, but they are never insignificant. They are the most powerful forces shaping your future. The discipline of reading instead of scrolling compounds into wisdom. The discipline of movement instead of laziness compounds into strength. The discipline of honesty instead of avoidance compounds into trust. Over time, your identity shifts, not by accident, not by miracle, but by repetition. And so we arrive at a truth both humbling and empowering. You are not your intentions, you are not your potential, you are not even your dreams. You are what you do, day after day, when no one is watching, when excuses are tempting, when comfort is calling. Your future is being written not in your imagination, but in your calendar, your routines, your habits. And this truth is harsh because it strips away excuses, but it is also freeing because it places the power squarely in your hands. You do not need to wait for permission. You do not need to wait for a rescuer. You do not need to wait for the perfect circumstances. You need only to act consistently in alignment with who you wish to be. Do this long enough, and you will look back one day to realize that the identity you once dreamed of has quietly become who you are. So ask yourself, what are your habits teaching you to become? If a stranger observed your routines, your speech, your focus, what future would they predict for you? Are you aligning with your highest values, or are you drifting away from them? And in your relationships, what lessons are you teaching others about how you deserve to be treated? What emotions do people carry after being in your presence? These are not abstract questions. They are mirrors, and the answers are the blueprint of your identity. The choice is yours, and it is made not once, but every day, in every repetition, in every boundary enforced, in every act of integrity lived. Because in the end, you are not the person you say you want to be. You are the person your habits prove you to be, and your life will always rise or fall to the level of your daily choices. Part 5. Living for your future self. There comes a moment when every person must ask themselves, who am I truly living for? The fleeting comfort of today, or the vision of who I could become tomorrow? The question is unavoidable, and the way you answer it will shape not just your days, but your destiny. Most people, though they rarely admit it, live for the present moment in its shallowest sense. They chase ease, indulgence, and the immediate soothing of discomfort. They avoid the hard choice, the disciplined act, the long-term investment, because it does not provide an instant reward. And yet, deep inside, a quiet voice reminds them that each choice leaves an imprint. Every skipped discipline, every delayed decision, every surrender to comfort is not just lost time, it is a betrayal of the person they could have been. The future is not some distant horizon. The future is being built in the silence of your present decisions, brick by brick, habit by habit. The Stoics understood this with piercing clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you have had 10,000 years to live. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." He was not urging despair, but urgency. He was reminding himself that the future is not guaranteed, but it is shaped by the present. The tragedy of so many lives is not that they lacked opportunities, but that they squandered the ones they had because they could not delay gratification. They lived for comfort instead of for character. They lived for the applause of today instead of the legacy of tomorrow. And in the end, they arrive at the future not proud of what they built, but haunted by what they abandoned. Living for your future self does not mean ignoring the present. It means redefining what the present is for. The present is not a playground for indulgence. It is a workshop for building. Every small act of discipline, every uncomfortable choice, every boundary enforced, every priority honored is a seed planted in the soil of the future. And the harvest is inevitable. The question is only what kind of harvest you want to reap. If you choose distraction, you will reap regret. If you choose discipline, you will reap freedom. If you choose comfort, you will reap weakness. If you choose growth, you will reap strength. The math of life is simple, but most people refuse to see it because the truth feels too demanding. They want the harvest without the planting. They want the reward without the cost. But no one escapes the law of the seed. The future always arrives carrying either the weight of your neglect or the reward of your discipline. This is why the idea of the future self is so powerful. It is not a vague ideal, it is a living reality that you are constantly shaping. Imagine that the person you will be 5 years from now is watching you today. What will they inherit? Will they inherit a body weakened by neglect or strengthened by care? Will they inherit a mind scattered by distraction or sharpened by focus? Will they inherit relationships poisoned by passivity or enriched by presence? Every choice is an inheritance, and one day you will meet the person you have created. You will either shake their hand with pride or you will avoid their gaze in shame. This is not abstract philosophy. It is the most practical truth you will ever hear. The actions you take today are letters written to your future self. The question is whether those letters will read as love letters or as apologies. Too many people live as though the future is something that will be gifted to them, as though tomorrow will deliver clarity, strength, success, or peace without cost. They forget that the future is simply the present repeated. What you do today is what you will do tomorrow, and what you do tomorrow becomes your life. Habits compound for better or worse. This is why the Stoics spoke so often of discipline, not because they enjoyed severity, but because they understood that without discipline, the future is wasted. Seneca wrote that life is long if you know how to use it. The problem is not the length of our days, but the way we scatter them. We forget that we are not just living for ourselves now, we are trustees of our future selves. To betray discipline today is to steal from the person you could be tomorrow. Living for your future self also demands clarity of vision. You cannot build what you cannot see. Too many drift because they have no defined image of who they wish to become. They say they want success, but they cannot describe what success looks like. They say they want freedom, but they cannot define what freedom feels like. And so their energy scatters, their focus dissolves, and their lives become a repetition of survival instead of creation. Clarity is the compass that transforms effort into progress. Define the future self you want to become with specificity. Write it down, picture it vividly. Let it become so real in your mind that every present decision is weighed against it. Ask, does this action align with the person I wish to become, or does it betray them? When you live with this awareness, every moment becomes meaningful. Even the smallest decision carries weight because it either contributes to or subtracts from the vision. But here lies the paradox. Living for your future self often requires embracing pain in the present. Discipline is painful. Saying no is uncomfortable. Investing in growth feels costly, but the pain is temporary. The reward endures. Comfort, on the other hand, feels soothing in the moment, but it leaves scars that last. Every time you avoid discomfort, you accumulate debt, and one day that debt comes due. You will pay in the currency of regret, lost time, wasted potential. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, the pain of regret weighs tons. Which pain will you choose? The Stoics taught that the obstacle becomes the way, because they understood that the weight you carry today strengthens you for tomorrow. Living for your future self means choosing the lighter pain of discipline over the crushing pain of regret. Living for your future self also means choosing contribution over consumption. What will remain when your days are over? Will the world be better because you lived, or will your presence be barely noticed? Legacy is not built in grand gestures. It is built in daily acts of integrity, in the standards you uphold, in the way you treat others, in the values you embody. People may forget your words, but they will not forget your impact. Living for your future self means living for a self that extends beyond you, into the lives you touch, the work you leave, the values you pass down. This is why Jim Rohn said that success is not what you get, it's what you become. And what you become echoes far beyond your lifetime. So, how do you live for your future self in practice? Begin by designing days that reflect the life you want, not the life you have settled for. If your vision includes health, then your days must include movement and nourishment. If your vision includes wisdom, then your days must include learning and reflection. If your vision includes peace, then your days must include silence and gratitude. Do not wait for the future to impose these habits on you. Build them now. Each day becomes a rehearsal for the life you want to live. Over time, the rehearsal becomes reality. The future ceases to be a vague hope and becomes a lived identity. You stop saying, "One day I will," and begin saying, "This is who I am." And when setbacks come, as they always do, living for your future self means refusing to abandon the vision. Failure is not the end, it is feedback. Every stumble, every misstep, every detour is an opportunity to refine, not to retreat. The Stoics did not fear failure because they did not measure life in perfection, but in persistence. What matters is not whether you fall, but whether you rise aligned with your vision. Living for your future self means carrying resilience as your armor. It means knowing that the path is not linear, but that every step, even backward steps, can serve the future if you learn from them. This is how you transform pain into progress and setbacks into stepping stones. And so we return to the heart of the matter. Living for your future self is not about sacrifice for its own sake. It is about love, the highest form of love you can offer yourself. It is choosing to love the person you are becoming enough to endure discomfort today. It is choosing to love your legacy enough to live with integrity now. It is choosing to love the limited gift of time enough to spend it wisely, deliberately, urgently. Comfort asks nothing of you, growth asks everything. But only growth rewards you with a life you are proud to have lived. So ask yourself with brutal honesty, if I met the person I will be in 5 years, would they thank me or curse me? Would they inherit strength or weakness, wisdom or regret, freedom or chains? The answer is not written in the stars. It is written in your choices today. Every moment is a vote for who you will become. Every habit is a brick in the house of your future. Every word, every action, every decision is a seed planted in the soil of time. And the harvest will come, whether you are ready or not. The only question is what kind of harvest you will reap, because one day the future will arrive. You will meet yourself. Make sure it is a meeting you are proud of. At the end of this journey through 20 uncomfortable but liberating truths, one theme emerges with striking clarity. Freedom is never found in illusion, but in facing reality head on. We often live as though comfort will protect us, as though waiting will deliver opportunity, as though emotions will bend life to our will. But reality does not work that way. The world responds to action, to discipline, to clarity of thought, and to the courage of deliberate choice. The harsh truths you have heard may sting, but on the other side of that sting lies growth, strength, and an inner freedom that no one can take away. What becomes undeniable is that your life is a direct reflection of the truths you are willing to accept. Denial may feel safe, but it quietly steals your years. Acceptance may feel heavy, but it gives you the tools to shape the future. The Stoics were not interested in comforting illusions. They were interested in equipping the human soul to withstand hardship, to remain steady in chaos, and to create a life of meaning regardless of circumstance. Their wisdom reminds us that the power to change is always within our hands, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, but here, now, in this very moment. The deepest lesson we can carry from this reflection is simple but profound. Live today as a deliberate gift to your future self. Every choice is a seed. Every action is an investment. Every disciplined step builds the foundation of the life you are moving toward. And the good news is you do not need to be perfect, nor do you need to transform overnight. What you need is the courage to begin, the resilience to continue, and the clarity to choose growth over comfort, one decision at a time. How can you apply this starting now? Protect your attention as fiercely as you could protect your money. Guard your time as the finite treasure it is. Choose environments and relationships that nourish your highest self. Set boundaries that honor your values. Build small, consistent habits that align with the identity you wish to embody. Above all, stop waiting for rescue, motivation, or certainty. Act. Because every day you act, your future shifts in your favor. Every day you hesitate, it drifts further away. The freedom you seek is not found in someday. It is created today. So let me ask you this. If you could make just one decision today that your future self will thank you for, what would it be? Please share your answer in the comments below so others can be inspired by your perspective. And if this message resonated with you, I kindly invite you to subscribe to Limitless Mindset. Your support gives us the energy to continue creating meaningful content that challenges, uplifts, and equips you for the journey ahead.